Top of the morning to you all. Welcome to our daily dose legendary leadership training call. As everybody here is a leader, as you all know. So I wanted to share something because it's germane to what everyone here is experiencing, which is this thing called life. I don't know if any of you have ever had the experience of moving back to the place that you grew up in order to take care of a parent. And my parents are not together, but they're up in age significantly, and they need a lot more TLC. So my dad's about 3 hours away, and we moved back here. We were here on a visit. We used to live in San Diego. So when we came to visit my mom, she was actually living in an older facility where there's a lot of people that are like just an older age facility. And I noticed I hadn't seen her in a while. And you all know this, if you surround yourself around a bunch of aging people who look at themselves as old, then it rubs off on you. And her whole energy had shifted. And to me, it looked like she had aged about 10 years. And she was already up there in years. And I just said, this is not going to work. Like we walked into her space and I was like, this is not happening. And we were supposed to be there for about 3 days. We ended up staying for a week because we started looking for a house immediately. And I just told my mom, you're moving in with us. So long story short, we moved her in. We just packed up all our stuff from San Diego, came here. Kudos to Nadia for being a trooper, leaving the beautiful weather of San Diego. So we come back here, move my mom in, and we're here for about a year. And so that was about a year and a half ago. So it's been a little over 2 years now that we've been back. And so when you're taking care of a parent, you're basically on call. And so I was on call this morning because she needed to go do a couple of things. And you know how you think in your time, but you have to think in whoever you're caring for's time. I know you all that are taking care of elders, you understand this. And so whatever your time is, you have to add like another hour onto that because my mom moves a lot slower than I do, and I forgot about that. So that was my long way of sharing why I was just jumping on at the top of the call. But I wanted to share it with you because many of you have life going on right now. Some of you have people that you're caring for. Some of you are dealing with toddlers. You have kids. Some of you have kids that are older, but like Eric, they're engaged in a million activities in sports. So Eric and Casey are professional Uber drivers for their kids. So you have to find a way to continue to care for those people in your life that are important to you while you're also caring for this company and building your organization and the developing your leadership personally while also developing other leaders. So you're basically cultivating two families at the same time. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's an important thing to do. And it's important that you really kind of figure out how to prioritize. And it's not always going to be perfect. And it's not always going to be the way you want it to be. It's not always going to unfold the way you'd like it to. Sometimes it's going to be sloppy. Sometimes you're going to be late when you're always on time. It's just part of the deal. And you have to embrace that. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time tripping on it. If you have a day like today where I didn't start the way I wanted to, you roll with it and you keep it moving. So I wanted to talk some nuts and bolts. And just to give you all the heads up, we're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday is going to be really focusing on specific things to mindset. Tuesday and Thursday are going to be more nuts and bolts days where we're going to be doing live dials and things of that nature. So just to give you all the heads up, and I'm sharing that because I understand there are some of you that your wheelhouse is superb. And so you may not have to necessarily always be on. I'm talking, you know who you are. Doesn't mean that you don't promote the call. Doesn't mean that you don't get your other team members on the call. And I understand people lead by example. And some of you well, actually, it's for all of us. We're all still getting to know each other, and you're learning how I do things in my process. And so you'll be on initially to kind of get a feel for it, but then you'll get on, you'll catch on to it. But I did want to give you that kind of rough outline as we're moving forward. So if we do in review very quickly, Monday, if there was one word that really was emphasized on Monday, what would that be in terms of what your takeaway was from the call, from Monday's call? For those of you that were on the call Monday, there was one word that resonated that you would take away from Monday's call. Let me check the chat. Just type it in the chat if you would. Talk. Authenticity. Authenticity. Yeah. I would say authenticity. If there's another word that comes to mind, relationships, that's good for sure. Relationship building, great. Vulnerability too. Okay. Vulnerability. So any combination of those, be real. Yep. So what does that mean? Again, it's just coming from your space and your heart, and why you're making this initial phone call, why you're genuinely excited, because and I told you all this on Monday, I had some individuals that I was on the phone with and we were reconnecting, and through no prompting of my own, they were saying, we have been looking for a place to have an experience culture, a place where we can feel good about the people that we're around, a place where we can grow, and we miss travel desperately. So the fact that those things came into my energetic sphere unsolicited by me, it was such a great indicator of what we're doing and where we're moving to. If you look at Tuesday, that was really just about pre-launch day. So that was a call to action. It was the practicality of focusing on having an outcome for that day, which we did. And which was phenomenal, by the way. There was a great turnout for the pre-launch call. You all did a great job with promoting that and bringing people on. Wednesday was about what? What was your takeaway from yesterday's call? Quick do and review. What did we talk about? You can unmute or you can type it in the chat. Why are you here? Yes. And how many of you got some insight, not just from your own personal sharing and or reflection, but hearing from someone else? No. You can unmute and just jump in. It's okay.
Here. Relax. No one's here. Okay. All right. Typing your sissy. No one's here.
I'm muting everybody.
Hey, Ed, you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. I've muted everybody, including myself. So yeah, can anybody just jump in real quick, unmute yourself and talk about what you got from yesterday, not just from your own reflection, but maybe from hearing from someone else.
Hey, brother, Dustin here. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, my man. So what I got yesterday, I was talking to my business partner who's on this call right now, Mark, and something that we've done, we have a business together, something we've always talked about is helping others. And when I talked to him yesterday, I told him, I go, what I got out of it was every person that spoke on the call yesterday didn't say about how much money they're going to make, about how they're going to go buy a house, how they're going to go buy a new boat. It was all about how they're helping others. And what I got out of that yesterday, it was like, this is definitely a home for me. Like, that's exactly what my vision is and exactly what Mark's vision is. And that's what I got out of it. I was like, man, every person from the top, from you all the way up that spoke yesterday was inspiring for sure.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate that share. Fantastic. Anyone else want to jump in before we move on?
Yes, this is Edward. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Edward. We could hear you. And then you muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Come back. There you go.
I'm traveling. I'm probably in a bad place. What I got out of it was there's everyone that I heard. I believe there are people that understand their purpose and destiny, and we finally found a way.
You're coming in and out, Edward.
I'm traveling, so I'll share that.
See if you can type it in the chat. Okay, well, but don't type if you're driving. Be careful, be safe, Edward. If you get reception, try to come back in. So we understand the importance of what is taking place, and we have to continue to remind ourselves to set the tone. See, every day is an opportunity to hit the reset button, because you're putting yourselves in this headspace and you're managing your state to go out and make connections and to invite people to see the information. So if we talk about just some of the nuts and bolts, right? Stuff that we're going to review, a million times, because these are the fundamentals. It's the foundation that creates the success long term. What would you say are the core tenets of building a successful company, building a successful team, building a successful travel, the club, building a successful club? You have to invite, correct? So if you don't invite anyone to look at the information, no one's going to see the information. You have to present the information. That might be you doing your own presentation. It might be someone viewing some of the many links that are already up, which are phenomenal, by the way. And you have to begin to train the people that you're inviting, right? So inviting, presenting, training, prospecting. You have to talk to people. So not everyone that you talk to are going to be people that are already in your phone. You're going to talk to people that you're meeting along the way. So there's prospecting, there's presenting, there's promoting this call, promoting the pre-launch, promoting the very first launch event. These are like core nuts and bolts tenets that we have to use, right? We cannot do anything without these things, correct? And Carl, he typed in duplication. So I'm just writing these down, so I'm not just going off in my head. We have the inviting, we have the presenting, we have training and development, prospecting, promoting, prospecting, presenting. There we go, promoting. Okay. And obviously these are topics that we can do individually. We're not going to get into all these now. I just want us to have that working base. Showing up, Sanaa, that's interesting to me. Here's the thing that we have to contend with, is that being in this particular business model, there is no barrier of entry. And because there's no barrier of entry, sometimes you're going to have idiots that come into your space. You're going to have people who are unethical come into your space. You're going to have people who have zero integrity come into your space, because they can present themselves however they want to present themselves. And there's really no way for you to determine determine that. And you don't really know until time reveals. So that's something that we have to contend with. Now, understanding that if we create a barrier of entry and we have what I would call a screening process as we're bringing people in, what does that mean? Pre-qualifying individuals, pre-qualifying prospects, pre-qualifying those people that are in your phone. So for example, do me a favor, Carla. Carla, type in the chat a name of someone that's a friend of yours that's in your phone. Just type in that person's name. First name. I don't need the full name. Just type in the first name, Carla, of somebody in your phone. Or Alfonso, or Alan, or Autumn. Just somebody type in a first name for me of a friend that you know, someone that you have a relationship with. Type it in the chat. Okay, Terry, thank you. Jackie. So Terry calls Jackie, who is a friend. They already have a relationship. And Terry still has to pre-qualify Jackie because we want to be efficient with our time. What if Terry already knows that Jackie is not predisposed to wanting to build a business, wanting to earn passive residual income, and maybe takes 1 or 2 trips every couple of years? So I'm gonna call Jackie and say, Jackie, listen, I'm working on something. We're actually in the pre-launch phase right now. And from what I remember, financially, you're doing really well, correct? Like money's not an issue. You have more money than you can count. Is that fair to say? I'm just double checking. Now, either Jackie's going to laugh or she's going to say, no, you're hitting it right on the head. Whatever she says, I'll go off of that. And then the next question is, and from what I remember, you're not a big vacationer. I think you all go like once every couple of years. Is that true? Like travel's not in that's not your bag? I'm going to wait for the answer. Whatever she says, I'm going to play off of that. So let's say Jackie says, no, money is really good. And yes, you're right. Traveling is not our thing. So listen, because of the importance of what I'm doing, Jackie, I'm looking to identify some key individuals who are just as passionate as I am about having fun, creating memories, and seeing the world. Would you happen to come to mind any individuals that are vacationers that are traveling for either fun, family, or business? Does anyone come top of mind for you? I'll wait for the response. And she might give me a couple of names. She might say, I don't know anyone because I don't go out like that. It's all good. Okay, great. The second part and the last part of the conversation, Jackie, is, are there any individuals that are looking to be in your position? Because you're already financially successful. You already have everything you could ever want money-wise. Do you know 1 or 2 people that would love to be in your position and they're not there yet, or they haven't figured it out? Wait for the response. I'll play off of whatever she says. That's just an example of how I'm going to pre-qualify somebody that's already in my phone, someone that I know, I have a relationship with. Now, the reason I'm asking those questions is because I don't want to assume that just because I know the person and I think that they're doing well, they may not be doing as well right now. Things change dramatically. They may have flipped the switch. They had a near-death experience, and now they want to travel and see the world. So I'm just checking in. Last time I checked, you do once every couple of years. No. Listen, I've changed. I want to see the world. What you got? I want to give my prospect every opportunity to say yes. I want to give them every avenue without being imposing on them. You understand? So I'm going to finesse that pre-qualification process before I set the next appointment, whatever the next step is. Either you're personally going to see the information or you're going to give me a referral, because every phone call that I make has value only depending upon the actions that I take and the questions that I ask. Every single contact in my phone is worth something, but it's up to me to make it worth something based on how I handle the contact, okay? So this is just one very simple aspect of that initial contact, all right? So when we're looking at just the very basic thing of what we're all focusing on right now, which is getting people in front of the information, Well, it's a tie-in now because you're looking at one, it starts with you, your level of authenticity, your ability to be vulnerable, share your story, your come from, where you're at this point in your life, and then forming that contact. So for example, when Eric Allen and I got on the phone, we've stayed in touch. So we both had some indication of what the other was doing, but not really. So when we got on the phone, there was a conversation of what's been, what have you been up to? What's been going on? And then Eric was like, here's what I've been doing, and here's why I've been doing it. And here are the results in my own personal journey. And here's why I have been open and why I'm open right now because of X, Y. So he gave me his story, his come from, and why he was even open to this next level of conversation. That's how everything started. And I would say the same thing about John McKillop as well. He went through that same progression. So even though we have history, we have a relationship, there was still that fill-in before we got to the purpose of the call. And he was like, listen, this is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I'm calling you because we've done this and because here's what I know about you. And I just want to know if you're open. So he's giving me an out. I just want to know if you're open, because if you're not, no problem, no worries. I'm not trying to impose. I'm simply trying to share. So that's when you start with the authenticity, the vulnerability, it allows the person that you're talking to soften up, to let their guard down. And next thing you know, whether they're interested or not, if they're really your friend, they're going to be looking for a way to help you in whatever it is that you're doing. So it's going to be a win. See, when you're making these phone calls, it's going to be a win scenario. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you call someone and you're following this progression, all right? So you start with the authenticity, vulnerability, share your story. Then you talk about why you're doing what you're doing, right? Why are you here? Why you're doing what you're doing. And then you ask the questions. Are you open? Tell me, if I remember, you're already killing it. If I remember, you weren't terribly satisfied with your current income. If I remember, you were looking for other ways to supplement your income, help me refresh my memory. And so when you put all those things together, if the person that you're talking to is non-responsive, if they're not helpful, if they're shutting you down, well, that's a win for you because you've identified who that person really is. And it's not, oh, you're dead to me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you got to know who's who. Not everyone's going to be your biggest cheerleader. It's not everyone's going to want to support you. Some of the people in your phone, they're just relegated to a specific category. That's who I watch the football game with. That's who I watch World Cup with. We don't talk business. We don't talk about money. We don't talk about personal development and growth. That's just my sports friend. And we might go to the bar and have a beer and call it a day. And that's okay. It's still a win. It's a win for you because some of you, there are people in your phone and you haven't really connected with them in quite some time. You haven't had a meaningful conversation. It's just good to know who's who in your phone. So once you start to identify that, then you're like, wow, okay, now I know who's who, and I know how to better spend my time moving forward. I need to spend more. I remember I would get up and I would go to we had this thing called Business Networking International. And so obviously you all probably have it in your respective countries. And I'm not an early morning person. I just do it because it's efficient. But I would get up and go to these BNI meetings because I realized as I was going through my contacts and identifying who was who, I didn't really have anyone in my contacts that I could do business with, that wanted to do what I was doing. I had to go meet new people. So it helped me to get clarification on where to spend my time. So I spent way more time building new relationships, networking, connecting with people. Obviously, because of the social media landscape, we all have this tremendous playground with billions of prospects around the world. So there's no such thing as a lack of people to connect with. However, that being said, it is very, very important that you go through your contact list first and foremost. And so we have these things that trigger new names, new phone numbers. Obviously, I don't do business or spend money with anyone that doesn't know what I do. Okay. So all of you have a network. You have physicians and dentists and accountants and dry cleaners and all these places where you spend money, car washes, and whoever's owning the car wash. And those are the people that need to know what it is that's taking place, in addition to the people that are in your contact list. So the process, if you do it the right way, it's going to be cleansing. It's going to be an opportunity to reconnect. You're going to find that timing wise, there are certain people that you're reaching out to, and it is the perfect time. There are other people that it's not going to be the right time. But listen, if you put the day and the date of contact and whatever took place, you got to keep notes on this, okay? If you keep notes on it, then when you come back 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from now, that's when magic can happen. Let me show you something real quick. So if you all were listening yesterday, someone on the call, I can't remember who it was, they said, Eric, oh, it was Arnold. Arnold said, Eric called me, and at the time that he called me, I was not in the headspace. I had just gotten my butt kicked from, some business that went bad, and I just told him I'm not there. And then Eric called him back 2 or 3 months later. And then it was the right time. That's called follow-up. So I take notes on my calls, right? So when I'm calling people, I know the date. So I put the date in the corner, and then I got the names and numbers and what we talked about, if we connected or not. And so I have this book, right? And I got all these names in here, and I just write them down, and I have the date in the corner of when I made the phone call. But this is an entire, this is just one of the notebooks, right? So when I was calling people and then I need to follow up, I could track it 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago. Why? It's always a win, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a win. When you identify it's not the right time for someone, that's a win. Because now you know where that person is categorically. You can make a note to yourself, check back in 30, 60, 90 days. Ask for permission. Is it okay if I check back with you in a couple of months? I understand it's not a good time right now. They will always say yes, unless they're just totally not interested. But that's a win too, because then you can just take them off your list. So listen, 2 to 3 weeks later, Eric said. So as we're in this space right now, and we're focusing on getting people in front of this information, moving in a spirit of urgency. Urgency because there's only one pre-launch period. Now, we've had the gift of some additional time. And then even when we turn it on, there's still going to be a pre-launch period until the actual launch, event. Okay. So that only happens once. And guess what? For most people, it never happens because they don't come along until after the company has already begun their journey. It's such a very unique time. Don't be shy about sharing that. And that you have to finesse the communication on this, because you don't want to sound like everybody else. It's ground floor opportunity. It's true. We're starting at the beginning. And see, a lot of people, they use that phrasing, and what they're really saying is, hey, everything's going to be easy because we're first. And that means everybody has to go underneath us, which means we're going to make a crap load of money. That's what they're saying subconsciously. if they don't communicate it correctly. When you're talking about being a part of something at the beginning, you'll hear Eric do this. I haven't heard Scotty, but I know he's doing this. I haven't heard Ed Terranova, but I know he's doing this. What they'll say is, it's really special to be not just at the beginning of something, but to have input on what that something is going to be. Your opportunity to bring your greatest strengths, your strengths in terms of your personal integrity, your work ethic, you're always positive. We want that as a part of our foundation. And we actually get a chance to be that foundation. See, that's a different way of communicating the timing of pre-launch versus saying, ground floor opportunity, man, we're gonna kill it. Even though that might be true, right? That might be true, but I may not lead with that. I might say that later, right? Once we get some traction from these individuals that are coming in. So just wanted to kind of go over the tools of building. Again, we invite, we present, we're training, and you're training. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you're training people from the moment you contact them. You're training people from the moment you because how you contact them, they're subconsciously saying, well, that's how I have to contact somebody. So when you leave an enthusiastic voice note, voicemail, followed by a text, I left you a voice message, take a listen, smiley face. They're like, I can duplicate joy. Duplication, by the way, Carl wrote duplication. Duplication comes from things that are fun. People duplicate what's fun. People duplicate what's simple, right? So you're training them from the moment you contact them. You're training them from the moment you say, okay, great. If it's not the right time, fantastic. Listen, if I can support whatever you're doing, let me know. People remember that. And you know what they'll do? They'll come back 6 months, 10 months, 12 months, 2 years later and say, you were not a jerk when I told you I wasn't interested. And I've been watching you on social media. You're having all this fun. You're doing these events. You're going to these cool places. I think I want some of what you got now. They're going to remember everything, ladies and gentlemen, everything. Duplication, prospecting, promoting, presenting. All right. So those are the 6 cores that we're doing. I know somebody said show up. Again, we have no barrier of entry. So it's our job to Anna, to Sanaa, to show up for ourselves so that we can really show up well for others. Sorry for going over today. Have an awesome and amazing, thriving Thursday. Let's keep showing, let's keep growing, and let's keep making it do what it do. You all have an awesome day. See you tomorrow.